Hi everyone, my name's Yehuda. In case you don't know me, I'm going to show you how to make my soup that everybody loves. So it takes about 8 hours to make it. I hope you have the patience for it. And I figured with all this virus craziness going around, people will have time to actually try it, and it will also be something you'll really like. So my first time doing this, bear with me. I've never tried to make a video and put it together and share it, so hopefully it'll go well. It's right about 10 a.m. I'm gonna start by showing you what I'm gonna cook it in. It's gonna be in a fairly large pot. I put in 1 gallon of water, which is about 1/3 of the pot. I'm gonna crank the high heat on to start boiling the water. And lesson I learned back in chemistry class was to make water boil faster, you need to add a little salt to the bottom. So I'm gonna lightly spray some salt all along the bottom of the pan. I don't know if you can see that, but that's it. We're gonna wait till the water boils, and as we are, I'm gonna show you what I'm putting in the soup. I'm putting in 5 packages of meat, mostly bones. I got 2 packages of knuckle bone, it's called. I've got a package of bone marrow. I've got a package of lamb stew meat. And I've got a package of beef shank, or beef stew meat. So what we're gonna do while the water is boiling is we are gonna wash all the bone meat nicely, and once the water boils, we're gonna throw it in the water. The stew meat, which has no bones, we're gonna save to add a little bit later. So you don't have to wash that, and you don't need to prepare that right away, but eventually you'll want to make sure they're in nice consistent size chunks of meat. And other than that, you are going to open up these packages of whatever meat you want to do while the water is getting hot, and just wash them thoroughly. Make sure you get any residue off of the meat and off of the bones especially, such as the white stuff that's on the bones, not the marrow itself. You leave that intact, of course, but wash it thoroughly. And then once the water boils, I'll show you what's next. Hi again, everyone. I'm still waiting for the water to boil, but I wanted to just make a couple of quick pointers. First is, you don't have to use the same exact bones if you don't want to. These are the ones that I like to use the most, but if you want, you can get lamb stew meat, lamb bones, neck bones, any kind of beef or lamb is what I use because I keep kosher. The bones help make the soup more yummy. And then in terms of the meat, you can use, like I'm using the beef stew meat. This lamb meat has bones in it as well. It's not just meat, but you can buy the kind that is similar to this but lamb at the markets, most likely. And another thing that some of you may not know, especially if you're not Persian, is once it cooks, you get the most flavor out of these bones when you suck on these parts here that are cut. So these parts where the bone is nice and straight, after it's cooked, these will basically fall apart into separate pieces, and you can suck on these different parts, and it's absolutely delicious, as well as the bone marrow itself. So that's my 2 tidbits until the water is almost ready. And once it is, what we're gonna do is drop in all the different meats. Slowly, of course, make sure it doesn't splash back on you. Lower down the temperature before you do that so the water isn't boiling as much. Drop in all the meat, package at a time. Doesn't really matter which one you want to put first or last. I usually put the knuckle bones on the bottom. And then you're gonna just cover it, put the heat back on high, and wait for the water to start boiling again. Once it starts boiling again, that's when you have to stay on top of things for about half an hour, because you are going to start cleaning the fat that comes from all the bones and all the gunk that accumulates. You don't want any of that to remain in the soup, and it's also going to be boiling over in case you don't do that. So that's the next step I'll show you guys. Okay, everybody, I had put the bones in about 10 minutes ago, placed the temperature on high, and for now I'm putting it on medium. I'm going to drag it down to low. Whenever you come to clean it out, you should put it on low heat so that it stops boiling as much and it's safer to do it. And I'm going to show you what I was talking about, which is you're going to see a lot of brown yucky stuff around the perimeter once you turn the heat down. As it's boiling, it's going to be white and foamy, but you want to get to it before it boils over the pot because it'll make a big mess on your counter. And the other thing you want to do is pay attention to the watermark. Once you put in all the bones, you're not going to have a whole lot of room for all this stuff. But basically what you're going to do is grab something and you're going to clean out all this nasty stuff because you don't want to eat any of this. And also, you will notice that the water is 2 different colors. You got a broth color and you got this oily stuff here. You will want to separate all this oil. It's very unhealthy. And once you're done doing this, you just cover it and turn the heat back on to high. And you're going to continue doing this for about half an hour until you see very little to no more of this dark stuff accumulating, and there is less to little or no fat left, like this, the oily, fatty, nasty stuff. And another trick you can do is you can take a paper towel. My kitchen is a mess because it's Passover and we're keeping everything separate. You can take a paper towel and just wipe it up all around to get all that stuff and keep the pot clean. That's basically all you need to do for the next half an hour or so until you see that there is little to no fatty, oily residue left and little to no black stuff coming out anymore. So repeat those steps. High heat, don't let it overflow. Turn the heat down when you're ready to clean the water, and repeat. You're going to do this probably 4 or 5 times over the next half hour. Hi everybody, it is 11:01, so we're about an hour into making things. This is how the soup should look when you are ready to add the meat and you're done boiling the bones. you are going to have very little oily residue left. Of course, you're going to have some, but that's fine. And it's going to be a yellowy broth, light yellow texture. I turned the heat down again in order to put the meat in. And these are pretty big chunks. If you want, you can cut them to smaller pieces, but I'm just going to throw it in. Eventually, you're just going to maintain a medium to high level of heat. And as you do, the water is going to continue to boil and your water level is going to go down. So every half an hour or so, you are going to come and check your water level. You are going to use something large enough where you can mix everything up so nothing burns to the edge of the pot. Move the bones around and just make sure that as the water evaporates and it gets lower, you're going to refill it so that it reaches to where the meat is. That way everything cooks and nothing dries out. And you're going to keep doing this until the next step. So keep it on high. You can also clean it up a little bit. You will see a little bit of more oily residue, but it won't be that much. You can clean it as you check it and just let it boil and stay on a medium to high heat in order for it to continue boiling, because that is what is going to bring all of the flavor out of the meat and bones. I'll be back in touch soon. Hi everyone, we're about 2 hours in. Just giving you an update. As you can see, you're going to still get some oily, fatty water and residue. So keep cleaning that. And also around the rims, if you see more dark spots, continue to clean any dark spots in the water and around the rim. In about an hour, we're going to add the other ingredients, which are mushrooms, yams, and onion. So I'll get back to you as soon as that's ready. And just keep doing what you're doing. Make sure you continue to stir every half an hour so that nothing burns and gets stuck to the bottom of the pot. And add water as you need to maintain the water above the meat, as I'm going to do again right now. Hi everyone. Okay, we're about 2.5 hours in. I want to show you the next major step, which is the other ingredients. I got about 1 pound of mushrooms, cut them up into quarter-sized pieces. I got 3 medium-sized yams, and I got 1 large red onion that's chopped. I had to use a dull knife because it's Passover, unfortunately, so it doesn't look that great, but it is what it is. We are on low heat again, just to make sure the water doesn't splash, and this is how it looks. You can clean out the other little bits of oil as they come up, fat, oil, whatever you want to call it. And basically all you're going to do is take these one at a time and dump them into the water. And by the time you're done, your water is going to be almost full. So once you're done with this, you just cover it again, put it in high heat, let it continue to boil, and continue to stir it. Make sure you stir it every half an hour or more, just because with these added ingredients, these might fall to the bottom and stick to the pan. Otherwise, you're just going to maintain the same thing. Mix, high heat, add water as you need to make sure everything's covered with water, and I'll give you another update in about 1 to 2 hours. Hello again, everyone. Okay, it is 2:45. We're almost 5 hours into the soup. Wanted to show you what color it should be by now. It should be a bit darker because of the mushrooms and the yams being mixed in. As you can see, it still gets oily and fatty. So you're gonna wanna clean this stuff out. Zara, watch out. I don't wanna burn you, watch out. My daughter is next to me as I'm doing this. And as you can see, sometimes you still get the dark, nasty stuff that you want to take out, but that should be very rare. I actually think that may be part of the bone marrow, but I'm going to take it out just to be safe. Yes, I love it. Okay, so the only thing left to do besides cleaning it periodically and mixing it is we are going to now add the spices in order to make things final. And as you can see, the bones and the meat are getting cooked, but it still has a way to go. So there's a few spices we're going to use. And my spices are all new because it's Passover again. So we're going to put in a healthy amount of paprika. And I'm spilling it as I do it. But this one is Moroccan paprika with oil. You can use sweet paprika or regular paprika, whatever you like. You're going to put in a large teaspoon of that. This is chicken consomme. You're also going to put in a large teaspoon of that. Now, usually the only other thing I mix in here is garlic salt, but I couldn't find any that's kosher for Passover. So instead, I'm going to add about half a teaspoon of salt, because you can always add more salt as you go along or once it's ready, but you don't want to make it too salty. And the chicken consomme also has salt. And the other thing you're going to do is add granulated garlic, about a full teaspoon, just like the paprika. Normally, as I said, if you want to use garlic salt instead, you'll use 1 large cup of or spoon of garlic salt instead. So there's the garlic. Gonna add a little bit more. And now basically all you're gonna do is mix this a little bit. Make sure the spices settle a bit. And the color should turn reddish. It's not as red as I usually like it, so I'm gonna add a little bit more paprika. And other than that, you're gonna be all set. There we go. You're gonna be all set. It's gonna be like a reddish orange color as it's turning into. And the bones are gonna start to separate. The meat is gonna start to separate from the bones. You're gonna have different chunks. The sweet potato is gonna start breaking apart at some point as well with some of it, but that's okay. Most of it will stay hard. Just keep doing what you're doing. Every half an hour or so, stir it. Add water as needed to make sure everything is covered, and keep it with a high heat. And I will show you the final result in a few hours. Hi everybody, it is almost 6 o'clock, so it's been almost 8 hours since I started cooking. And this is the final result right here. As you can see, it's a pretty orangish color. And everything is still sizzling. The water level is about where I like it at least. I like it to be more hearty and not too watery, but if you want, you can add more water to keep it above the meat. And if you want to keep cooking it after about 8 hours, you can do so. You don't have to leave it on a high or medium heat. You can leave it on a low heat, keep it boiling, and I wouldn't cook it for more than like 10, 11 hours at the most. After a while, if you overcook it too, you'll lose the flavor. I hope you enjoy it. If you end up making it, please let me know. And another thing you can do is eat this with some hot sauce, which I may be showing people how I make my own Israeli hot sauce down the road, but this is one kind of Israeli hot sauce I bought from the market. It's something called schug, which is originally a Yemenite thing that was brought to Israel, and it's a really tasty hot sauce. So if you like it spicy, you can go buy some of that from your local market or international market, depending where you are. And if not, add a little salt for flavor if you want to, but I'd leave it just like that and serve it with some bread or matzah in tonight's case, and enjoy. Please leave me some comments if you tried it and let me know how you did it. And I wish you all a very safe and happy holiday season, and hopefully we'll all get through this crazy coronavirus time with some hearty meals and health and happiness ahead. Take care.